When the numbers don't lie, the receipts do. What should have been another chart-dominating release from Drake and 21 Savage turned into one of the most eyebrow-raising moments in recent music history. The new track dropped, and instead of celebrations and record-breaking stats, the internet exploded with questions. Why weren't the streams where they were expected? And why did it look like someone was trying to artificially inflate them? Insiders say that within hours of release, suspicious activity was spotted around the song's performance metrics. Thousands of streams appeared in patterns that didn't match real listener behavior. Sudden surges in places no fanbase normally reacts, spikes at odd times of night, repeat plays that looked unnatural. Social media analysts and music tech experts began to flag it immediately, and once the data was pulled, the bot behavior wasn't subtle. It was glaring. Now, Drake and 21 Savage are facing an online firestorm, with critics accusing them of trying to manipulate charts and save face after what should have been an effortless hit. Fans are split, some defending them, others feeling betrayed, and many wondering if this is part of a larger trend in the industry. Meanwhile, the song that was supposed to be untouchable is now the center of a controversy that could shape how hits are counted forever. What makes this even crazier is that experts say the bot push still failed to deliver the expected numbers. Instead of skyrocketing up the charts, the irregular activity was detected and discounted by streaming platforms' anti-fraud systems. So not only did the supposed tactic get exposed, it didn't even work. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly how the bot behavior was spotted, who first sounded the alarm, how streaming platforms responded, and what this means for Drake, 21 Savage, and the future of chart manipulation in the digital age. Because once the data is in the public eye, the truth doesn't stay hidden for long. The rollout was supposed to be automatic. When artists at the level of Drake and 21 Savage drop a song, the industry usually braces for impact. Playlists update instantly. Headlines write themselves. Fans flood streaming platforms before the first chorus even finishes. That's why the first signs of trouble didn't come from critics, but from numbers that felt off. Not low, not terrible, just wrong in a way that people who watch data for a living immediately noticed. Within the first few hours, analytics pages started lighting up with strange patterns. Streams were jumping in sharp, unnatural bursts rather than rising steadily the way organic fan activity usually does. Certain regions showed sudden spikes that didn't line up with time zones, promo schedules, or historical listening behavior for either artist. The song would surge, stall, then surge again, like someone flipping a switch instead of real listeners pressing play. At first, fans brushed it off. Every big release gets accused of something online. But this time, the conversation didn't die down. Independent music analysts began posting screenshots, pointing out how the engagement didn't match the visibility. The song wasn't trending the way a Drake release normally would, yet the raw stream count appeared inflated. High volume, low buzz. That mismatch is usually the first red flag. What made things worse was how quickly the song fell out of rotation in key playlists. Instead of climbing, it plateaued. Then it slipped. Industry insiders quietly noted that streaming platforms have become far more aggressive about filtering suspicious activity. Artificial streams don't just boost numbers anymore, they get flagged, frozen, or wiped entirely. And when that happens, the public-facing stats can look chaotic. As the day went on, more details surfaced. Data trackers noticed repeated plays from the same clusters of accounts, often at perfectly timed intervals. Human listeners don't behave like that. People skip, they pause, they replay specific sections. Bots don't. They stream on schedule. And once that pattern appears, algorithms start paying attention. No one officially accused Drake or 21 Savage directly. That's not how these situations work. Instead, phrases like third-party promotion, irregular activity, and non-organic traffic began circulating. The implication was clear without being spoken aloud. Someone, somewhere, was trying to push the numbers, and the system wasn't buying it. The silence from both camps only added fuel. Normally, Drake's team is quick to celebrate success, reposting chart positions and milestones. This time, there were no victory laps, no celebratory posts, just quiet. Fans noticed. Critics noticed more. Meanwhile, rival fan bases jumped in, amplifying every screenshot in theory. Memes spread fast. Bots can't save mid became a trending joke in certain corners of social media. Others pushed back hard, arguing that Drake has no reason to manipulate anything, that his catalog alone guarantees streams. But that argument raised another uncomfortable question. If it doesn't need it, why did the data look like this? Behind the scenes, industry talk turned serious. Chart manipulation isn't new, but enforcement has changed. Streaming platforms now share fraud indicators with chart compilers, and once a song is flagged, it can quietly lose thousands or millions of plays without public explanation. That's how a song can look strong one hour and underwhelming the next. By the end of the first full tracking day, the outcome was impossible to ignore. The song didn't dominate. It didn't collapse either, but it failed to meet expectations in a way that felt symbolic. If there was an attempt to artificially support it, it hadn't just been detected. It had backfired. Instead of saving the release, the irregular activity became the story. And that's what made this moment bigger than one song. It exposed how fragile the illusion of success can be in the streaming era. Numbers are no longer just numbers, they're evidence. Every spike tells a story. Every dip raises questions. And once analysts and fans start reading the data like a crime scene, there's no going back. For Drake and the 21st Savage, this wasn't a public scandal with press conferences and statements. It was quieter than that, and maybe more damaging. Because in today's industry, being questioned is sometimes worse than being wrong. Once trust in the numbers is shaken, the music has to work twice as hard to speak for itself. As the conversation grew louder, the focus slowly shifted from what people were seeing to why it mattered so much. This wasn't just another internet conspiracy about numbers. Drake and 21 Savage represent the top tier of modern music, artists whose success is usually unquestioned, almost automatic. When doubt enters that space, it sends a ripple through the entire industry. Because if they are being scrutinized, no one is untouchable. Music analysts began explaining to casual fans how streaming fraud detection actually works. Platforms don't announce when they flag suspicious activity. They don't publicly accuse artists. Instead, they quietly adjust. Streams get discounted. Playlist positions stop updating. Momentum dies without explanation. To the average listener, it just looks like a song didn't hit. To people watching closely, it looks like intervention. That's exactly what many believed was happening here. The song's trajectory didn't match normal Drake patterns. Historically, even his weakest performing tracks dominate conversation for days. This time, discussion was louder about numbers than about lyrics, beats, or bars. That alone was unusual. Fans weren't debating favorite lines. They were debating spreadsheets. Some industry insiders floated another uncomfortable idea: pressure. Drake's catalog is massive, but expectations grow with every release. When an artist sets a standard too high for too long, anything less feels like failure, even when it isn't. In that environment, aggressive marketing tactics can blur lines. Third-party promo companies promise guaranteed streams, guaranteed engagement, guaranteed chart impact. They rarely advertise how they do it. And that's where the gray area lives. An artist doesn't have to personally approve bots for bots to be involved. Campaigns can be outsourced. Budgets get allocated. Results are expected. If something looks off, plausible deniability kicks in. That's why these situations are almost never proven publicly, only inferred. Meanwhile, streaming platforms had their own incentive to stay quiet. Admitting widespread manipulation would undermine trust in the entire system. So instead of statements, users saw results. The song stopped climbing. Then it slowly slid. Not dramatically, just enough to confirm that something wasn't being supported anymore. Fan reactions grew more divided as days passed. Some doubled down, streaming harder out of loyalty, trying to prove the song deserved its spot. Others pulled away entirely, saying the energy felt forced. When hype feels manufactured, audiences can sense it, even if they can't explain why. Hip-hop commentary channels picked up the story, framing it as a symbol of a bigger shift. The era of effortless domination might be ending, not because Drake and 21 Savage fell off, but because the ecosystem changed. Algorithms are stricter, fraud detection is smarter, and organic engagement is harder to fake at scale. What really stuck with people was the irony. If the allegations were true, the tactic didn't just fail, it backfired. Instead of inflating success, it triggered scrutiny. Instead of celebrating numbers, fans questioned them. In trying to protect the song's image, its image became the controversy. And still, there was no direct response. No denial, no clarification, just silence. In the modern music landscape, silence can be strategic, but it can also let narratives harden. The longer nothing is said, the more speculation fills the gap. By the end of the second tracking period, the verdict wasn't official, but perception had settled. This release would be remembered not for breaking records, but for exposing how fragile chart dominance has become. In a world where every stream is audited and every spike analyzed, even legends aren't immune to suspicion. And that left the industry with an uncomfortable question. If this can happen at the top, what's really going on everywhere else? As the third day of streaming data rolled in, the narrative around Drake and 21 Savage's latest release became impossible to ignore. Industry insiders were now publicly dissecting patterns, pointing to anomalies in play counts, repeat streams, and geographic inconsistencies. Every spike and lull was under the microscope. Analysts emphasized that these weren't random fluctuations. This was a textbook pattern of artificial engagement, something the music industry had been trying to regulate for years. The song's trajectory, once expected to dominate playlists and trending charts, now looked chaotic. Normal Drake releases typically gain steady traction. Initial surge, peak, then a gradual plateau as engagement stabilizes. This release, however, had bursts and drops that didn't align with listener behavior. Streams jumped in perfectly timed intervals and then stalled at strange hours, a signature often associated with automated playback. Platforms' anti-fraud systems, more sophisticated than ever, began discounting these plays, keeping the song from climbing the way a typical Drake or 21 Savage release would. Social media reacted quickly. Clips of streaming dashboards went viral, showing the unusual patterns. Fans debated the numbers. Some defended the artists, saying they could never need artificial boosts. Others questioned the integrity of the release, asking if a bot campaign had been deployed to protect chart positions. The conversation wasn't about the music anymore, it was about credibility. The irony was glaring. A song meant to dominate was now making headlines for the attempt to make it dominate. Insiders explained that campaigns like these often operate in a gray area. Some third-party firms promise guaranteed streams, playlist placements, or algorithmic visibility. If an artist team is involved, or even just hires someone promising results, the responsibility is murky. Drake and 21 Savage might not have personally executed any bot activity, but the result was the same. Suspicious engagement became the story. The digital footprint was unmistakable. Experts noted that even with massive talent and loyal fan bases, artificially inflating numbers is rarely subtle, and now it had been caught in real time. The situation also revealed a larger industry truth. Streaming charts are no longer as simple as raw numbers. Platforms now adjust for abnormal activity, often in real time. Plays from suspected automated accounts can be removed or discounted, so the public numbers may not reflect actual engagement. Analysts emphasize that this transparency is double-edged. It prevents manipulation but also makes false spikes highly visible. In this case, what may have been intended as a protective strategy backfired spectacularly. Meanwhile, the song's initial buzz began to erode. It wasn't failing in the sense of lacking fans, but its trajectory looked awkward and inconsistent compared to other hits. Conversations that should have celebrated musical milestones instead focused on bot detection and suspicious spikes. For artists of Drake and 21 Savage caliber, the pressure to maintain dominance is intense, and any perceived stumble is magnified exponentially. Critics quickly capitalized, framing the narrative as a cautionary tale. Even giants can struggle to control perception in a hyper-analyzed industry. As forums, social media threads, and fan groups dissected every piece of data. One theme emerged: transparency now dictates success. In a landscape where algorithmic intelligence tracks patterns meticulously, no number goes unquestioned. Any attempt to manipulate streams can be spotted almost instantly, often leaving artists scrambling to explain or ignore it. In this case, silence prevailed, adding fuel to speculation and letting the story grow organically without interference. By the end of the third day, the release had become a lesson in the limits of influence. No matter how powerful an artist is, no amount of strategy or manipulation guarantees dominance in the digital era. Drake and 21 Savage had released a highly anticipated track, but even with loyal fan bases and world-class marketing, unusual activity created a narrative that couldn't be controlled. What began as a simple song release for Drake and 21 Savage, the lesson was clear. In an era of transparency, every stream tells a story, and attempts to rewrite it artificially are almost always exposed. The fallout wasn't just about chart position. It was about credibility, perception, and trust. Fans, critics, and the industry at large were now questioning not just the numbers, but the narrative behind them. And in the age of instant analysis and viral dissemination, the scrutiny isn't going away anytime soon. What should have been a celebration of artistry had become a cautionary tale about the risks of trying to manipulate success, and even legends aren't immune. As the fourth day of tracking the release progressed, the story surrounding Drake and 21 Savage's latest track had evolved into something far bigger than music charts. What was supposed to be another seamless, high-profile drop had instead become a lesson in how the digital music landscape can expose even the biggest names. Every analyst, blogger, and social media commentator was now watching, dissecting patterns and theorizing what had gone wrong. The unusual streaming behavior wasn't just noted, it was studied, shared, and debated. Streaming numbers began to plateau in a way that was difficult to ignore. While Drake and 21 Savage typically dominate for days, sometimes weeks, the song struggled to maintain momentum in key playlists and regional charts. Experts attributed this to anti-fraud measures that had already kicked in. Platforms detected irregular streaming patterns, likely originating from automated accounts, and began discounting those plays. It was as if the systems themselves were asserting authority, signaling that manipulation, intentional or not, would not go unchecked. In the public sphere, the discussion had shifted from speculation to analysis. Social media users combed through data, screenshots, and engagement metrics, comparing them with past releases. Every sudden spike, every plateau, every anomalous play pattern was shared and commented on. Hashtags related to the situation began trending, turning what should have been a song release into a full-blown digital investigation. For fans, it was thrilling. For industry insiders, it was a warning. The age of unchecked stream inflation is over. Meanwhile, industry commentary focused on the broader implications. The incident highlighted the delicate balance between marketing and authenticity. While promotion has always been a part of releasing music, the line between aggressive marketing and artificial inflation has become razor-thin. With platforms capable of analyzing play patterns in real time, any irregularity is immediately detectable, and the public narrative can shift faster than marketing teams can respond. Even global superstars like Drake and 21 Savage are now vulnerable to perception, regardless of actual intent. Analysts also noted the irony. If bots were involved, the attempt to artificially bolster the song had not only failed to achieve its purpose, but it had also drawn more attention than a purely organic release might have. Instead of the focus being on the music, streams, or collaborations, the conversation revolved around alleged manipulation, credibility, and trustworthiness. In a world where data is king, credibility is currency, and once suspicion enters, it can overshadow the art itself. Fans and critics alike dissected every visible metric: regional spikes, playlist placements, listener engagement times, and repeat play patterns. Every anomaly fueled discussions about algorithmic influence, the ethics of third-party promotion, and the evolving landscape of the music industry. It became clear that the story wasn't just about a single song or even a single artist. It was about how music consumption perception, and success are now inextricably tied to technology. Behind the scenes, music executives and platform analysts quietly examined the situation. Discussions centered on how the song's irregular performance could be mitigated, how to preserve artist reputation, and how to ensure future releases avoid similar scrutiny. The incident highlighted the increased sophistication of fraud detection systems, which now monitor billions of plays daily, flagging patterns that differ from human behavior. What might have gone unnoticed a few years ago now becomes instantly obvious, leaving no room for ambiguity. By the end of the day, the track had stabilized, but the damage, or perhaps the lesson, was done. The narrative had shifted. This wasn't a story about success, chart dominance, or another viral hit. It was a story about transparency, accountability, and the challenges even the biggest names face in a hyper-analyzed digital landscape. The lesson was clear. In today's music industry, numbers are no longer just numbers. They are evidence. Every spike, every pattern, and every play can now be scrutinized in real time, shaping perception and ultimately defining success in ways artists cannot control entirely. For Drake and 21 Savage, the takeaway was unmistakable. In an era of algorithmic scrutiny, streaming charts are no longer purely measures of popularity. They are narratives shaped by both human behavior and digital oversight. Any attempt to artificially manipulate that narrative is risky, highly visible, and easily dissected by a highly connected public. Even legends in the industry must now play by rules that leave no room for ambiguity. The fourth day concluded with one undeniable truth. The age of unchecked influence in streaming music is over. What began as a song release had evolved into a cautionary tale, demonstrating that even the biggest artists are not immune to the relentless scrutiny of technology, analytics, and public perception. The conversation surrounding the release had forever shifted the way fans and industry insiders view success, strategy, and authenticity in the digital era. By the fifth day, the story had fully transformed from a song release into a case study on how the modern music industry operates under the watchful eye of analytics and public scrutiny. Drake and 21 Savage track, once expected to dominate every playlist and chart, had become an example of how even the most influential artists can have their releases dissected and challenged in real time. What began as excitement for a new collaboration evolved into widespread conversation about authenticity, numbers, and the systems that govern success. Streaming numbers had largely stabilized, but the unusual early patterns continued to draw attention. Analysts combed through play histories, repeat streams, geographic anomalies, and playlist placements. The patterns suggested that if any automated promotion had been attempted, it was minimal and poorly disguised, or perhaps entirely unnecessary. What was clear was that the unusual engagement had already become the headline, overshadowing the song itself. In a world where digital perception often outweighs actual numbers, the story mattered more than the streams. Public reaction remained divided. Some fans defended Drake and 21 Savage, arguing that these are artists of enormous reach whose songs are guaranteed massive engagement. Industry insiders emphasized that the real issue was transparency. Streaming platforms now monitor billions of plays daily, employing algorithms capable of detecting suspicious patterns within minutes. These systems are designed to protect artists, fans, and charts alike, ensuring that engagement reflects human behavior rather than artificially inflated numbers. The irony of this particular release was that any attempt to game the system would have been counterproductive. The technology detecting irregularities had already flagged it, and in doing so, created a viral controversy that dwarfed any benefit the artificial streams might have provided. Meanwhile, discussions in boardrooms and among marketing teams focused on lessons learned. Even artists at the level of Drake and 21 Savage are not immune to perception issues. Future campaigns must carefully balance promotion, engagement, and audience trust. The story reinforced a central truth. Success in the streaming era isn't just about talent or fan loyalty. It's about ensuring that every engagement is both authentic and defensible in the public eye. The narrative surrounding the release also sparked broader debate about industry practices. Analysts discussed third-party promotion, bot usage, and the ethics of artificially inflating numbers. Fans were introduced to the technical side of streaming, learning how platforms analyze listener behavior to detect anomalies. What could have been a minor technical issue instead became a cultural moment, exposing both the intricacies of the music business and the heightened scrutiny that even top-tier artists face. By this stage, the song had begun to recover naturally, driven by organic streams and social discussion. Its initial trajectory may have been disrupted, but true fan engagement still held power. The early irregularities, while widely discussed, could not erase the music itself. What remained, however, was a cautionary tale that would follow both artists. In the digital age, numbers tell stories, and those stories are more important than the songs themselves when the public is watching closely. For Drake and 21 Savage, the fifth day underscored the fragility of digital dominance. Chart positions, trending metrics, and viral success are no longer guaranteed, even for superstars. Every release is monitored, every pattern analyzed, and every anomaly discussed publicly within hours. The incident demonstrated how quickly perception can eclipse performance and how even slight irregularities, intentional or not, can dominate headlines, overshadowing artistry. The situation concluded not with scandal but with reflection. The song would still succeed musically, but its early days became an example of the complex, high-stakes world of streaming. In an era where algorithms, analytics, and audience perception govern success, even legends cannot ignore scrutiny. The story of Drake and 21 Savage release serves as a reminder. In modern music, authenticity is measured not just by talent or reach, but by how well an artist navigates the invisible, exacting systems that determine which songs rise and which are questioned. Ultimately, this fifth day cemented the narrative that has now defined the release. It wasn't just a collaboration, it was a lesson in how technology, numbers, and perception intersect. While the song itself continues to be enjoyed by millions, the story surrounding its debut will be remembered as a turning point in understanding the digital mechanics behind the music industry, showing that even the most powerful artists must play by rules that are increasingly impossible to manipulate without scrutiny. What just unfolded isn't simply a story about a song. It's a glimpse into the future of the music industry. Drake and 21 Savage release showed how even the biggest artists are now under a microscope, where every stream, every spike, and every anomaly can be dissected in real time. In the digital era, perception can matter as much as talent, and authenticity has become the currency that truly defines success. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective on the streaming world, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dives into music controversies and viral industry stories. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the bot controversy was intentional or just a glitch? How do you think artists will adapt to this new level of scrutiny? Share this video with friends who follow music charts closely. The conversation isn't over, and the story of numbers, algorithms, and authenticity is just getting started. Stay locked in for the next chapter.